The grand ballroom of the summer palace glittered like the inside of a frozen chandelier. Thousands of crystal prisms caught the light from 100 chandeliers and shattered it into rainbows that danced across marble floors, gilded columns, and the faces of 300 nobles who moved in slow, deliberate orbits. Music from the hidden orchestra, strings and harpsichord, floated above the murmur of polite laughter and the clink of champagne flutes. Everyone was dressed to kill, literally in some cases, velvet, silk, diamonds sharp enough to draw blood if you stared too long. I stood near the eastern balcony doors in the borrowed uniform of a junior attaché from the Eastern Marches, dark blue coat with silver piping, boots polished until they reflected shame. My real name was Elias Varn, 27, cartographer by training, spy by necessity, and currently impersonating someone important enough to be invited to Princess Isolde's name day ball but not important enough to be remembered afterward. My mission was simple: locate the silver key that unlocked the Queen's private archive, steal the map fragment showing the lost vein of Aurum, and vanish before dawn. The Crown Prince of Valdria had paid enough gold to buy my sister's freedom from debtor's prison and still leave me enough to disappear forever. I had been circling the room for 2 hours, mapping sightlines, servant routes, guard rotations. The princess herself had not yet appeared. Rumor said she was indisposed after the morning's hunt, but her absence only heightened the tension in the air. Everyone waited for her the way flowers wait for the sun. Then the double doors at the far end opened. A hush rolled across the ballroom faster than the musicians could stop playing. Princess Isolde stepped through. She wore black. Not the morning black of widows or the fashionable black of courtiers trying to look dangerous. This was absolute black velvet, so deep it drank light, cut low across the shoulders and plunging to a daring V that ended somewhere between scandal and assassination attempt. A single rope of black pearls wrapped her throat 3 times and fell between her breasts like spilled ink. Her hair, pale as winter moonlight, was pinned in an elaborate crown of braids studded with obsidian thorns. Her eyes, the famous storm grey of the royal line, swept the room once and found nothing worth lingering on. Until they found me. I should have looked away. Every protocol manual ever written says you do not meet the gaze of royalty unless invited. But I froze. Not from fear. From recognition. I had seen those eyes before. 3 years ago, in a border village tavern, a woman in a hooded cloak had bought me ale and asked, very quietly, if I could read an ancient map etched on vellum that smelled of old blood. She had paid in silver coins stamped with a crest no living herald recognized. When I finished translating the runes, she had smiled once, small, private, terrifying, and left without another word. I never saw her face clearly. But the eyes. Those eyes had stayed with me like frostbite. Now they were looking straight through me. She crossed the floor. The crowd parted without being told. Guards straightened. Ladies curtsied mid-conversation and forgot to rise. I felt the weight of 300 stairs swing toward me like a siege engine. She stopped 2 paces away. Up close she was taller than protocol portraits suggested, nearly my height in flat slippers, and the black velvet clung to her like smoke. Her scent was faint, cedar, iron, something floral that had died long ago. "You're staring, attaché," she said. Her voice was low, almost conversational, but it carried the same edge as a drawn blade. I swallowed. "Forgive me, Your Highness. Your gown is striking." A lie so thin it tore on the way out. Her lips curved. Not a smile. Something colder. "And you are?" "Elias Varn, junior attaché of the Eastern Marches delegation, Your Highness." Another lie. The real Elias Varn was currently drunk in a dockside brothel in Calverton, blissfully unaware his name was being used to steal from the crown. She tilted her head. A single obsidian thorn in her hair caught the light and threw a black spark across my cheek. "Tell me, attaché Varn," she said, stepping closer, "what exactly were you mapping with your eyes when I entered?" My heart slammed once, hard enough I thought the sound would echo. "The architecture, Highness. The proportions of the room. A cartographer's habit." "Indeed." She studied me the way a jeweler studies a flawed diamond. "And what have you concluded about the proportions?" "That they are perfect," I managed. Her gaze dropped, deliberately, slowly, to my chest. The borrowed uniform was tailored for someone broader, the jacket pulled tight across my ribs when I breathed. I had spent the last 3 years hauling survey equipment through mountains. The body underneath was not court-soft. "Your chest is," I heard myself say it before I could stop. "Impressive." The word fell between us like a guillotine blade. The nearest courtiers inhaled sharply. Somewhere a champagne flute cracked against a tray. I wanted to die. I wanted the marble floor to open and swallow me whole. I had just insulted, objectified, the most dangerous woman on the continent in front of the entire court. Her eyes snapped back to mine. For one endless second nothing happened. Then she laughed. Not politely. Not the practiced trill of court laughter. A real, startled sound, low and rough, like she hadn't expected it herself. It lasted perhaps 2 heartbeats before she cut it off, but the damage was done. The room heard it. Whispers ignited like dry grass. She stepped even closer. Close enough that I could see the faint silver scar that curved along her left collarbone. Old, precise, swordwork. "Bold," she murmured, so quietly only I could hear. "Or suicidal? Which is it, cartographer?" My mouth went dry. She knew. Somehow, impossibly, she knew. Do not lie to me again." Her voice dropped to a whisper that felt like cold steel against my throat. "I remember every face that has ever looked at one of my maps and lived. Yours was in a tavern 3 winters ago. You read elder script like it was your native tongue. You never asked for my name. You never tried to follow me. That restraint bought you one night of continued breathing. Tonight you just spent it." My pulse roared in my ears. She continued, softer still. "The key you came for is no longer in the archive. I moved it this morning. To my private chambers. Behind the 3rd panel in the rosewood bedstead. There is a hidden catch shaped like a thorn. Press it twice, turn left. The drawer will open. Inside you will find the map fragment, and something else." I stared at her. Waiting for the trap. "A vial," she said. "Clear glass. Black liquid. 1 drop on the tongue and the taker speaks only truth for 6 hours. No lies. No omissions. No clever half-truths. If you take it and return to your employer, the one who sent you here with promises of gold and freedom, you will tell him everything. My name. My plans. The real location of the vein. Every secret I have ever whispered to a lover or a blade. You will destroy him. Or he will destroy you. Either way, the game ends." She paused. "Or you can walk out of this palace tonight with nothing but the clothes on your back and never come back. Your sister's debts will be paid by morning, my people are already moving the gold. Consider it payment for the map you read 3 years ago. A debt I do not like to leave outstanding." I felt the room tilt. "Why?" The word scraped out. "Because," she said, and for the first time something almost human flickered behind the storm gray, "I am tired of being the only one who cannot lie to herself. And because you once looked at me, at the map, at the woman holding it, and saw neither treasure nor threat. You saw a puzzle worth solving. That is rarer than gold." She stepped back. The space between us felt suddenly vast. "Choose," she said. "The key. The vial. Or the door." The music had started again, some slow waltz. Couples swirled around us as though nothing had happened. But I could feel the eyes still on me. Waiting. My hand moved before my mind caught up. I reached into my cuff, where I kept the slim lockpick disguised as a quill, and pressed it into her palm. She closed her fingers around it without looking. "I choose the door," I said. Her expression did not change, but the scar on her collarbone seemed to flush faintly. "Then go," she said. "Before I change my mind and decide your chest really is worth keeping." I bowed low, correct, final. I turned. I walked. Through the parting sea of silk and velvet. Past guards who watched but did not stop me. Past the balcony doors that opened onto cool night air scented with jasmine and distant rain. I did not look back. But as the doors closed behind me, I heard her voice, one last time, carried on the music like a blade thrown in the dark. Elias. I stopped. If you ever draw another map that leads to me, she said, make sure it ends in fire. Then the doors shut. And the night swallowed me whole.